Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome along to the Rolling Cup podcast. I am your host, the amazing Sniper Beef. We're back again to talk all things gaming. And as you can see, it's very cold where I am. I'm wearing the oversized hoodie. I refuse to put the heating on in my office, whereas Devastate is and Mass and Evra here are both in t-shirts. So clearly they have priorities in heating. I don't. Anyway, Devastate, Mass, how are you both?
Yeah, really well, thank you, Beef. And you're right. I don't have a problem putting the heating on. It is cold. Generally, it's not too bad in where I live, but it's got so cold this week. The heating has to go on.
I mean, the heating is on. The heating is on. But the radiator behind me is off, so I don't have any heating on in my office because I work from home all the time. So I'm like, you know what? I'm fine having not having any heating in my office.
Okay, fair enough. One thing I just want to say to all of the audience: can you please give us a like and subscribe to the video, and chuck in an emoji in the comments of how you're feeling on this cold day in the UK.
Indeed.
Manas, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for
Good.
asking. And yeah, as I say, I've got the heating on as well.
Good stuff.
The
Good stuff.
priorities are set.
Indeed. Let's get into it. I'll give you a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about the Royal Link Up, Nvidia lying, Switch 2, Elon's PoE drama, new Star Wars game, TikTok, Marvel Rivals, and we'll finish with a little bit of golf. So let's dive straight in. Big news. So probably the biggest news that we've had on this channel, with the exception of the first time we announced this, the 27th annual Royal Link Up date has been confirmed. The first day of the Link Up will kick off on the 5th of July this year. We'll have the opening ceremony, which is a Saturday. So we'll have all the usual games, drinking, etc., food, and all that good stuff on the Saturday. But gaming will kick off on the Sunday, the 6th of July. So yeah, the 27th annual Royal Link Up. 27 years of incredible gaming. You get to see, obviously, my gaming prowess, as usual, will be on display. But yeah, very exciting news. So do make sure you're following all of our channels to stay up to date on that, particularly here on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, as we'll be streaming on all of those platforms. If any brands or individuals want to do any collabs with us, because we've got quite a big reach, do drop us a DM. More than happy to have that conversation at any point. Mass, Devastate, anything I missed on the Link Up?
Yeah, you could just follow in the description below. You can see all of the channels, so make sure that you are following or subscribed on all of those channels so you don't miss anything. We'll do exciting announcements on the build-up, answering all of your questions on the run-up to the show, or to the event, I should say.
Show.
It's the show. It is a show now.
It is.
And we will be live streaming every day. And we'll do our best to provide some behind-the-scenes content as well during the event. All the food will be covered, as usual.
Absolutely.
All the gaming will be covered. So it's why you all ultimately have found us and are listening to us. And we've been speaking to you now, doing this podcast for a number of months now that you can see us come around again. So yes, give us a like, give us a subscribe on all of our channels, and keep up to date with what we're going to bring you from the 26th Royal Link Up.
Yeah, and the venue is going to be the same, which is good. So I think a bit of consistency there from a venue perspective, so everyone sort of knows where they're going to be sat, etc. There'll be probably some new faces. Mass and I were talking earlier today. There'll probably some new faces turn up who weren't there last year because unfortunately they couldn't make it. So yeah, very excited about this year's Royal Link Up.
And thank you for everyone who, I think we did a podcast shortly after, and we talked about what went well, what didn't go well from the last, in terms of the live streams and stuff like that. And we're taking all of that on board, so we will address, hopefully, all of those potential issues so you can see a lot more of what's going on in the room, going on in the event. And so, yes, well, hopefully you're a lot more engaged and willing to join us for that exciting event coming on the 6th of July. but we will also do some of the live streaming on the 5th during the opening ceremony as well.
Indeed. Yes, very exciting news to kick off this week's podcast. But moving on, Devastate. Nvidia have been lying to us about some things. What have they been lying about?
So we use the word lie, and it's a little bit loose, but essentially when we spoke on last week's episode, we were reviewing CES, some of the stuff that come out around CES. Obviously, the headline being the launch of the 5000 series GPUs from Nvidia, and they put up these bonkers stats about how incredible it was, and we saw a comparison on Cyberpunk 2077 with a 4090 performance and a 5090 performance. But obviously, they put up those stats that were DLSS. Now, DLSS is good, but it's not raw performance. It's simulated performance. So what has actually come to light is the actual qualitative uplift in terms of percentage, because I think we were seeing 60 frames per second to 250 frames per second. Absolutely wild in terms of what's that, 400%?
4x,
yeah. What it actually looks like when it comes down to raw frame performance when DLSS is not turned on is about 25% uplift,
which is not quite a 4x, is it?
No. So
I think this I was just going to say, it's also, I think, comes back to our, the point that I think we discussed towards the end of that segment in last week, in that I think we do have to wait for those benchmarks to come out and for the magazines, the editorials to really test it and run them side by side on a similar gaming setup on a same game. The once it is launched and it's in their hands, because I think we obviously said that these are absolute. I think on sort of first glance, we looked at it and gone, "This is ridiculous. This is unreal." I mean, 4x performance on a 4090, you'd be like, I mean, you bite someone's arm off for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we do have to wait for it to benchmark.
I mean, we spoke about a 5070 performance, bettering a 4090.
Yeah.
Now, I actually think that we might have to take what we said last week and what Nvidia said with a severe pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Because not all games run DLSS.
Nope.
Not all games are optimized properly. They've obviously picked a game that's very optimized and its new update for Nvidia. So and of course, like, it's a marketing event at the end of the day, so they're gonna cherry pick the best performance possible to try and get people excited. So they need to sell these cards. So I think you're 100% right in saying that we just need to wait for the benchmarks, wait for all of the reviewers who are going to get their hands on these cards. We've only got 2 weeks until the 4090 and the 4080 will go on pre-sale. Generally, what happens is that the reviewers, like the large reviewers, like especially on YouTube, like your Linus Tech Tips, your J2 your Bitwits, all of those will have the cards probably next week and be under embargo.
Yeah.
And until a particular time on the 30th, when they usually release the video at the time that the pre-orders go on sale. So I think it'd be really interesting to see what those channels say, and obviously looking at all the other sort of standard benchmarking sites, what their performance is on them. But I think it's a real interesting that Nvidia lied, but they didn't really lie. They just sort of skewed it, which, to be honest, every marketing company does. But exactly. I don't think that it's going to be that they've got to sell their cards, so I don't sort of blame them, really.
Yeah, and then to the point, just touching on the 4080, I've been monitoring the prices of 4080s on eBay. They're still going for nearly 900 quid used. So I'll be very much keeping my eye on that, because if the performance figures match up, and I can sell my card for 900 quid, even 700 quid, and then go and buy a 5080 for a couple hundred quid more. I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer at the end of the day. Anyway, moving on to some other enormous, I can't even talk, enormous news. The Switch 2. Mass, how bowled over are you by the Switch 2, particularly the trailer?
It didn't give too much away. I mean, it showed that there's new connectors on, and there's going to be new controllers as well that sort of snap on and off. You could see from the image that the screen is bigger than the previous model, but it didn't give any clues as to regards to resolution or anything. So will it or won't it be a 4K unit at all, or will they still give us just another OLED screen to sort of HD, but then they'll give us a Switch to 4K version in 2 or 3 years time?
You need 4K at that screen size, though. Image quality with to OLED probably makes sense.
But I suppose when you plug it into the actual TV, though,
to dock it,
that's where it's going to be a difference maker. If you've got probably at least a 65-inch TV or bigger, I suppose, to sort of get the benefits, maybe.
I mean, who doesn't have a 65-inch TV? I mean, that's got to be the benchmark for 2025, surely, isn't it? I mean, my goal, I think I saw one at CES, was 110 from, I think it was Hisense, and I was like, that is what I need on the wall, the 110-inch. But yeah, the Switch 2 trailer was very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. So much so that Greg's, which is a UK retail store which sells sort of savoury goods.
Bakery shop.
Bakery shop, bakery shop. And they were completely trolling the Switch 2. So they quote tweeted something on X, basically with a picture of their sausage roll. That Greg's are famous for sausage rolls, and they had the Greg's sausage roll 2, and it's basically just a normal sausage roll, essentially saying that the Switch 2 is not much really different from the current Switch. Which, I mean, there's differences, but I think to Mass's point, we need to see the actual specifications and specs of the Switch 2. But I think it has to be 4K realistically to, should we say, move the needle? But it's clearly a good. The Switch is a good seller anyway. So
when is it scheduled for release?
2nd of April.
Okay.
And I think one of the launch titles, it looks like you're going to get a new Mario Kart
9. Is Mario Party 9? Something like Mario Kart 9, something like that.
That'd be Mario Kart, which will be the new one. The party game, they've only just released a Switch one, just at the end of last year. So the next party game probably won't be until Christmas, I assume, for this Switch 2. And it will be backwards compatible. It will play all of your Switch games as well, which is good. So that's nice.
But I mean, I bought my kids a Switch 6 months ago. Am I going to upgrade it, even if it is 4K? No. No, no. Very unfortunate. But moving on, Elon Musk has got a little bit of PoE drama, devastate. What's been going on with Elon, apart from, he's been very vocal on Twitter around everything going on with Trump, but what's he been doing in PoE?
Oh my God. So for those of you who aren't aware, so we covered on the podcast Elon Musk being an elite gamer in Diablo 4. I think it was, he was ranked one of the highest Diablo 4 players. And Path of Exile 2, a game that came out towards the back end of last year, in a very similar style of game to Diablo 4, and still doing very well. But Elon Musk has managed to get himself into 7th place in the world. I think it's 7th. He might be maybe third place in the world. Basically,
PoE
in PoE 2, yeah.
No, I think it was 4th.
4th, yeah, okay, 4th in the world in PoE 2, and so it's like, well, that's incredible. And so a YouTuber by the name of Quinn, who is an avid player of these sorts of games, and one of his sort of colleagues. So they were looking at this, and there were some really odd behaviours happening. And so there was one particular thing that they focused on, which was in the map view. You can't just... Elon Musk is trying to double click to go to a particular area. But they're saying that, and I don't know the game, so I'm only paraphrasing what the experts have sort of said in this, but that's not how you get to it. But any player that was of that level who would have had to have put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into the game would instantly know what to do. But he was having trouble clicking on trying to go to a particular area. There is examples of actual pros that have streamed it that you can't even get to Elon Musk's level, even if you're at the same level of player as him. So it's like he doesn't almost have enough time to be able to get to that level. They gave
he's got a few other companies, isn't he?
Yeah. But then they said that he doesn't have, he didn't understand, he was about staff that was a level 62 and he was complaining about it. But they were saying, well, that staff is like the best in the game. It doesn't go beyond it. And it's actually one of the most powerful weapons to use. Anyone who used the game for that long would understand the mechanics of the game. They showed of him running through a corridor and he left an orb behind. Those orbs are mega valuable in the game, and he left it behind. He didn't even acknowledge it. And it's like any really good player would know that that's something that you have to pick up. And so all of this, basically, this video came out and all of the big YouTubers and the news have started covering it. But a YouTuber by the name of Asmongold is a massive Twitch streamer. I think he's 4th, 5th, 6th largest on Twitch. Reacted to Quinn's video, and Asmongold basically puts out this video and then says Elon Musk called cheating. Elon Musk reaches out to Asmongold on Twitter, and Asmongold says to him, if you can prove you're not cheating, I will stream on X for 12 months. Right? Which obviously, and then a whole, like various conversations. They then get into a disagreement. Elon Musk has just, leaked the DMs that they were having with each other. We're talking about a billionaire that runs companies leaking DMs on Twitter here.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. But all of the mainstream media have now picked up on it. And what has basically transpired is that the vast majority of people believe that he has someone that is basically grinding the account for him. Because it's impossible in that amount of time, unless you dedicate everything to playing that game, even if you're the best player, to get to the level he's at. And so, we spoke about being an elite gamer on an episode last year. We spoke about Elon Musk wanting to save games, but now he's really in the hot water.
Yeah.
And everyone accusing him of cheating in video games. Now, for me, I don't care if he pays someone to play his progress and he comes along and then plays the game. I don't really care. But don't lie. Don't say I've done it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you are going to lie, don't get bloody caught.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, it's that one of those things that when you stream, there's always been streamer drama because a streamer's been caught cheating and stuff like that. So you just can't get caught if you're doing stuff like that. But I think stuff's going to come out on the wash, and it ended up that was during the night. Then in the morning, Elon Musk took away Asmongold's verified mark, and it's like all of this real proper petty stuff from a 52-year-old man, a billionaire running multiple companies, now linked with running multiple divisions in the US government. So it's he's meant to be, he's in charge
Doge.
of Doge. Yeah,
Doge.
Department of
Government Efficiency.
Yeah, it's like you can't act like a bloody child when you're questioned. So yeah, there's a whole piece of drama here. It's going to unfold even more. But I tell you what, it's quite funny to watch. And it's not really big gaming. It's not like gaming announcement news or reacting to it, but the story I think is absolutely hilarious.
I think I think it's still relevant because I think obviously Elon's company is going to be very much at the forefront from a gaming perspective in the coming years. So if he's going to be a big part of the gaming industry, I think it's still absolutely relevant. But no, I'll have to have a look into that. I spend a lot of time on X, so I will definitely have a delve into that over the weekend for sure. But moving on, there's a new Star Wars RTS game rumor. I did briefly see it, but Devastate, tell me more. Or was it Mass? Who saw it?
It is me. So um, there is a predominant leaker by the name of Timur 222, who's really like on the pulse with this sort of stuff. Now, in Japan, there's a Star Wars celebration happening on April 18th. And that there is a game in development by a studio called Respawn, and that there is going to be a public announcement and trailer released during the Star Wars celebration for a Star Wars RTS game.
I mean, can you imagine how excited Vedic's going to get over that?
I'm never. If this game is good, he is not going to leave his computer for 6 months.
They're responsible for previous games that are Star Wars related, which are Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. They've also done the Titanfall series and Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, first person shooter. So
Titanfall, what game that was? That was a great game.
Oh, take me back. But interestingly, though, that they with that those are more recent Star Wars games. There, do they have any history of RTS games? Don't. I mean, RTS is a difficult genre now. Not many people generally play in it. The majority of RTS games now exist on the mobile space, which is that horrible pay to win. Like you see, like all the ads across all your social media channels. But if this is a generally good game, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I don't think Vedic's wife will be very excited by it.
No.
Because can you imagine how excited Vedic's going to be if you can control like a droid army? I mean, oh my days.
or a clone army.
Or a clone army. You got like a army of AT-ATs. I mean, can you imagine? He's going to need so many boxes of tissues, isn't he?
Because there has been RTS games before, the Star Wars Empire at War game from 2006, but I mean, I never played it. We never played it at a Raw Link or anything. So
can you imagine if it's ready for this link up?
maybe
can you imagine?
It could be if it's announced. If it's announced mid-April, it might be ready.
I suppose it depends. Like it depends how much they've done in the background. Because obviously, like coming on to one of the games we're talking about later, I didn't know anything about that one, and that's releasing in the next couple of weeks, and you're like, oh my days.
Yeah. Apparently, Respawn is also working on the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So they're producing games. Like obviously that makes sense. The game wasn't horrific. It wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't that bad.
Mediocre.
Yeah. But it'd be really interesting to see like what happens in that space. So we will definitely be keeping our ears to floor, and as once the event happens on the episode of the podcast after 18th of July, we will bring updates on that.
Absolutely.
18th of April.
18th of April, sorry, my bad.
So we got 3 months and a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll come around sooner than you can imagine. Moving on, TikTok ban is due Monday. Is it Monday the 20th?
Well, apparently,
Or is it 2 days, or is it Sunday? I think it's Sunday.
so the Supreme Court has confirmed that TikTok will be banned on the 19th of
Yes, Sunday.
January. So 2 days from when we're recording this, it'll be Sunday this week. The only way that the ban can be avoided is if TikTok sells to a US owner.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, Mr. Beast
I saw this.
put out saying, "Shall I buy TikTok?" And it's got a little bit of traction. And so there's
of course it would.
and now that there's talks of him creating a consortium to buy TikTok. I don't know whether it's going to go through though.
I think
and at what cost as well?
Yeah, I mean, right. So the cost is going to be absolutely astronomical, but I would like to think that someone like Mr. Beast could collaborate with a bunch of other billionaires and comfortably afford it between a few of them. I think it will go through the ban, but I think it will come back. I can't see, because particularly with Trump being so pro TikTok, and utilizing TikTok as part of his campaign, and obviously he comes into office on the day after. I can very quickly see something like that being turned around, particularly given that the US has got
70 million.
I was about to say 150. Yeah, 170 million. That's half the population.
The population is 345 million in the US.
So it's half the population of the country is on TikTok. I'm an avid user of TikTok. Obviously, in the UK, we're fine at the moment. I'd be very, very upset if TikTok got banned in the UK. So
I assume all the alternatives are now rushing to upgrade their cloud space and whatnot, maybe waiting for a rush on people making new accounts and whatnot.
Just on that, so in China have China, TikTok is banned. You don't have TikTok in China. So they have an app called Douyin, which basically does a very similar thing. But really interestingly, an app has jumped to the top of the app download store in both iOS. It's now, I think, number one in iOS, number one on Google Play Store, called Red Note. And it's effectively it does the same thing as TikTok. And it's like the download numbers are insane for an app that's been around for ages, but it's only really got traction, and it's got Chinese people on there, and it's got US people that are migrating over. And so I think what it goes to prove is that even if ByteDance doesn't sell it, that there's people aren't jumping to YouTube Shorts for that sort of content. They want something outside of that world. So I don't understand why a US company hasn't basically built TikTok.
Yeah.
Of all the startups that exist in Silicon Valley, of all of these brilliant minds, to know what the only channels that people really watch proper short form content on are TikTok and YouTube.
Is it? I mean, you've got alternatives to X like Threads, and then Trump has his own one as well, doesn't he?
Truth.
Right.
Truth, yeah. But yeah, with TikTok, I thought that China did have TikTok, but their algorithm was different, and supposedly it was feeding children more educational information there,
That's
whereas
Douyin.
the children here and in America were getting fed kind of irrelevant sort of like,
Yeah, so it's important. So the actual app isn't in China, as far as I'm aware. As I've done a lot of reading over the last 48, 72 hours. TikTok isn't really in China, but it's Douyin, which is the app that is used throughout China. I'm assuming it's because it's like a little bit more state-controlled content. I don't know whether because ByteDance, which is owned by Tencent, Obviously, have a lot of other wranglings with the US on a whole multitude of different issues. So they're looking to ban TP-Link, like routers and
Yeah,
smart
yeah,
home
yeah.
equipment. It all feeds up into
It's
Tencent.
all going down the Huawei route, isn't it? What
Yeah.
happened to Huawei?
If the reason was for one of the reasons is for security, though, it's suggested though a lot of TikTok users are moving to Red Note, which is still owned.
Well,
Its
actually
headquarters
get
are still in
Because
China.
the users don't, the generic users like you and I and everyone else listens to this podcast don't care. Like
No, I
most,
understand they
yeah,
don't, but I'm
yeah.
just thinking that that hasn't solved the issue for the US, so it goes back to the same issue as what the
I
other
think
state's
it's
saying. Why have
worse.
we not bought an equivalent?
Oh yeah, it's
Why
100%
have we not
worse.
created an equivalent?
I think this
Yeah, I think
them going on to Renault is 100 times worse than it being on um, ByteDance, because at least with ByteDance they can effectively control where user data is when it's in the US. I think that's part of the agreement that ByteDance did with
mm,
the US when it launched, that the data would be stored in the US.
yeah,
Red Note, that data is on Chinese servers.
yeah. Which I
You
don't
have to
think.
verify. You have to verify an ID. You have to get. I think you have to verify with a social security number and stuff like that. Like so,
Proper KYC.
but you're giving that data to China.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah, because with
absolutely
TikTok,
insane.
there's no KYC with China, is there?
Hmm.
No. Like if you have a TikTok shop account, you do have to do
Hmm.
KYC. So I have a TikTok shop account, so I have to do full KYC on that. But that's I think normal.
KYC
But
for our viewers and listeners is know your customer.
so basically, when you sign up for TikTok Shop, you have to prove that you are who you say you are. So, i.e., you have to give them a copy of your driving license or passport or government issued ID, for example. But yeah, I hope it's overturned fairly quickly. I think for me, TikTok is it's a fantastic platform, and it's where we started this. And if TikTok wasn't around, we wouldn't be sat here, I don't think, because
Yeah.
that Sunday when I said to Mass, let's create a TikTok account and start documenting the link. All that time, that was 18 months ago. We wouldn't be sat here doing what we're doing now if we hadn't have done that. So
Just related to that, I just want to touch on Australia and just get your thoughts on, obviously Australia at the end of last year banned TikTok and all social media apps for children under the age of 16.
well,
What's
yeah, I
your
mean, me and Mass are very much aligned on this. That we definitely. I've obviously got young children. I would quite happily have no social media for the kids until they're 18. Frankly, the same with a mobile phone. Give them a dumb phone, i.e., the phones that we had when we were teenagers. I it can make calls and text, and that's it. I'd be quite happy with that.
Because
Or
I
for them
don't know
to
how
not
you,
have that.
for parents though, I don't know. It's really going to come down to them ultimately, isn't it? Because it's going to be very hard to enforce. So I think it really is going to be parents and hopefully the consensus amongst other parents that I'm not letting my child on it, so I'm not going to let so I won't let somebody else's parents feel the same way. So
I think when Facebook first launched, you had to be the youngest age you could be was 13.
13,
When
yeah,
when it
13,
went
yeah.
when it sort of went mainstream.
That was that seemed to be like standard for like forums in the late
Mm.
90s, early noughties. It always seemed to see 13 years old, but I suppose
Forums. Oh,
but it
those were the
wasn't
days.
but I suppose it wasn't. I mean, I suppose internet chat rooms, that sort of thing, it was still addictive and stuff, but maybe it didn't, it wasn't in your pocket, was it?
Yeah,
So
and there was nowhere, nothing like the level of bullying that teenagers get on social media, on the likes of Instagram, Snapchat, etc., than there is now, which is, I think, the big issue. Which I'd quite happily, my kids didn't have phones or
I think there are
social media until they're
there's
16 or 18.
There's only a very, I think it was working out only about 7% now of schools in this country actually allow the student to have the phone with them like throughout the whole of the day. I mean, maybe you could still say that's 7% too much, but it looks like we are moving in the right direction here. I think people have
I do
seen the
think
harm.
there is value in kids having smartphones but almost locked down versions of
Yeah.
them. So, for example, with our children, having the find my feature and being able to know exactly where my child is at any point, especially
Yeah.
up to a certain age, I think
Yeah,
I think warrants. I think that's very valuable.
I've heard.
Sorry.
So I was saying I've had other that is what I've spoken to somebody else who was a head teacher, and they said that was one of the reasons. But there is other alternatives though. You can put so like a Bluetooth device in their bag instead.
But then that needs
Obviously,
to connect to a phone with data to ping a
it
GPS
does.
signal.
There, there
So
does need to be other GPS. There does need to be other Bluetooth devices around to ping. But I mean, the only thing I go back to, I understand what your point is, but in the 90s we didn't have this, did we? And it seemed to be generally okay. So I don't. What's
Yeah, because
changed there? We're much more we don't sort of we don't let our children stray as far either, do we?
no,
Now
because like if I think back to when I was a teenager, I didn't get a phone till I was 17, which was 2001. That was when I got my first phone. I still remember the first text I sent. But when I was a teenager, pre getting a phone, if I wanted to speak to my mates, I still know their home phone number off the top of my head now that I'm 40, because I would call them up and go, "Hi, it's Chris. Can so and so come out?" And then I'd go around. But that's what we did.
I can recite a friend's family's voicemail.
Oh no, so can I. So can I. So can I. But nowadays everyone's on this. They're connected 24/7, aren't they?
yeah.
Which is like dangerous. Like the scary thing is, my two kids who are 7 and 5, they can play Ark Survival Ascended on this PC and the other one that we got in the house on a keyboard and mouse, and they don't need me to help them. I mean, that is just, like, for me, that's mind blowing. Like, I haven't taught them it; they've just figured it out themselves. Obviously, I've said, right, that is how you get on a dinosaur. That's how you open your inventory, etc. But they figured it out. And the same with Minecraft. It's like it's just
It's no different
blind.
when I had a PC at the age of 14, and everything that I've done on PC has been self-taught. I've never had anyone sort of show me how to do certain things, so you do just work it out.
Did you Devastate ever have, when you had your PC, did you actually take it apart and then put it all back together again, just out of interest?
No, the first time, so very first PC would have been standalone. Everything was sort of a paid for machine, and I only took it apart when I went to work in the electronics store with Vedic. Was the first time that I then upgraded the GPU, because I was learning enough during that job to be able to do it, upgrading RAM, but I generally bought pre-built. Well, not pre-built. I bought them from manufacturers who would build to my specifications, and I only built my first machine from scratch in 2020.
But more importantly, you said that you obviously self-taught, etc., around everything you've done on PCs. Did anyone teach you how to play Minesweeper? Because I still couldn't tell you how to play Minesweeper.
No idea.
No, Mace, can you play it?
I know somebody who did used to play it, and they had this little mouse, this rubber device in between the keys on the laptop. Was used as essentially as the mouse. There was no trackpad in the 90s.
It was a little little nipple.
Yeah, a person had played it so much they'd worn the actual rubber down because they played Minecraft so much. So Minesweeper, sorry.
Yeah.
But speaking of like old games on PCs, do you remember when pinball was like came shit with Windows? I think that was Windows 98 or maybe ME.
It was definitely there was a 2000. Well, it was 2001, October 01, which was
the
ME
Windows ME version. Yeah.
Sorry, Windows XP. Sorry, Windows XP.
Yeah, XP.
Wasn't it? Windows 98, then Windows ME was 2000, Millennium Edition.
XP was 01. XP was 01.
XP, and then Vista.
October 1. Yeah.
Vista. Oh, what a terrible operating system Vista was.
I made that brilliant mistake of upgrading to Vista.
Yeah. Right, well, we digress there quite a lot.
Yeah.
So let's get back onto track. But yeah, TikTok. It's the ban's coming in a couple of days. When you see this podcast, it might or might not have just been enacted. But I think we all hope that it doesn't get banned in the US because I think that will set a precedence for going around the world. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But moving on. Game that launched not that long ago, but is still doing absolutely monumental numbers, and a lot of the extended link up crew are playing it on a regular basis. Marvel Rivals. I haven't seen it, I haven't played it, but the numbers are
You'll hate it.
Probably, yeah, which is why I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah. It's doing incredible. So came out on 6th of January, and it was doing massive numbers, about 600,000 players every day.
It's a lot.
Like within the last 24 hours, it's still had a 24-hour peak of 453,000. Its all-time peak is 644. It's the third most popular game on Steam behind Counter-Strike and Dota 2. And I think it is.
Oh, sorry, the fact that Dota 2 is still up there.
But bear in mind, but think worldwide. Like that's worldwide.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's incredibly impressive. So when the game launched, I was like, it looks visually good. Looks very enjoyable. The spike was off the charts, and I was like, okay. But usually with a game like this, and you look at the big games that came out this year, like Helldivers 2, they had massive spikes of player base for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then it slowly started to fizzle off. But they're still holding like high levels of players, and they're engaged, and they've got their season methodology. They're still in season 1, so they've obviously announced that season 2's happening. I just wanted to sort of highlight and say, actually, that's quite impressive, and that people are really enjoying playing the game. And it's funny when you make a game that's enjoyable to play, the game plays well, the characters look cool, that you keep your audience playing. And it's exactly the opposite of Concord. Because actually, like for like, there's not massive amounts. They're not massively dissimilar in terms of what you're trying to do. But this game, it looks awesome, is awesome to play by all accounts. But the character design is amazing. Yeah, and this might sound a little bit. I'm not trying to insult, but the girls who are in the game are good-looking girls. The guys in the game, massive, jacked-up people. And it's like when you play a game, you want to immerse yourself in those particular characters. It works. When you had Concord, whose character design was horrific, like it was almost the exact opposite of what I just said. And I think that it just goes to prove that methodology was true in the 80s, true in the 90s, true in the noughties, and it holds true to this day. The characters are such a fundamental part of gaming now.
Yeah, I would agree. I've just been watching a few of the videos whilst you were talking over that, and yeah, you're right. There's not a chance I'm ever playing that game. That looks like, honestly, the worst type of game you could give me on from my perspective. Mace, have you seen it or played it or anything?
I haven't. No.
No. But moving on to a game that me and Devastate will 100% be playing this year at the Link Up. PGA Tour 2K25 with Tiger Woods, the Legend Edition. 2K25 Legend Edition. It's actually called the Legend Edition. With Tiger Woods back on the cover with Max Homer and Matthew Fitzpatrick. The graphics compared to 2K23, it's like DOS to now. It looks ridiculous. Would you not agree, Mass? Because you shared it with me originally, didn't you?
Or the 2K, the screen. Oh, that screenshot.
That screenshot.
It's night and day. It is pretty.
So Mass shared the screenshot of Pebble Beach and the difference between 2K23 and what it looks like in 2K25, and honestly, it looks stunning, absolutely stunning. So yeah, $59.99. The base game, quite a lot of money.
Well, there's
and then
three versions, isn't there?
Yeah, I was about.
There's
Yeah, I was about to
Legend,
say the.
Deluxe, and Standard.
Yeah, and the top end one, I can't remember which one it was £109, which is an obscene amount of money just to get it a few days early, and you get obviously a few other bits with it as well. But
A1 DLC.
yeah.
It's already built
will
into.
it
It's already built into the game. We spoke about this, but they're charging
at
you
length?
for it.
Yeah, at length. I wonder, will it be on? I presume it'll be on Xbox Game Pass.
It is on PlayStation. It is on Xbox via the Microsoft Store and on Steam. It is pre-order on the Microsoft Store. So if I go to xbox.com, it just says pre-order. It doesn't say anything about it being on
Yeah, it's not on. It's not on
Game Pass.
Games Pass. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's on Xbox Game Pass and PC at the moment. So
When-
that'll be.
When is that coming out?
No, it's really soon, like a couple of weeks, isn't it, Mace? I thought it was the 2nd of February or the 5th of February, something like that, off the top of my head. Let me just quickly. PGA Tour 2K25. Our survey says release date 28th of Feb next month. So 5 weeks or so. So that's going to be here very, very soon. Devastate and I will 100% be playing that this year.
We may wait for it
Looks
to come down in price because I don't necessarily
Yeah.
think 65 quid for the game is
No,
represents particular value.
Yeah, we'll give it till maybe a few, maybe a month or so before the link up. Then we'll find it on CD keys.
Steam sale as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Steam sale or CD keys. CD keys. So I just got to interject with CD keys. Like I was looking at buying another copy of Ark Survival Ascended, and Ark Survival Ascended I think was like 35 quid, and I found it on CD keys for like £17. I was like, just a no-brainer to buy it on CD keys. But yeah, very much a game that we're going to be playing the link up as well. But yeah, that is pretty much everything we've got to cover today. That was a good episode. Lots of interesting conversations there. We would love it if you'd drop a like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this. We really appreciate that. Anything you'd love to see on the channel or us discuss or showcase, drop it in the comments on YouTube, of course. Make sure you're following all of our channels. The links will be in the description below to keep up to date with what's going on with the link up, because now we've got the date and the venue confirmed. I will repeat, we've got the date and the venue confirmed for the 27th annual Raw Link Up, which is the 5th of July, will be the opening ceremony this year. So, Mass, how many days away are we? Do we know off the top of your head?
Well, as of the time of recording today, the opening ceremony is 169 days to go.
And I'm not going to be doing a 169-day countdown on TikTok. That's absolutely not going to be happening. But no, I will be doing an announcement on TikTok. But those who have stayed here, hopefully you've got my announcement on TikTok, and we're in the future now, and you're watching this and you've realised what the date is. So. Yes, but anything else, gentlemen, have I missed?
Yeah, just to add on to that as well. So ultimately, we have the merch for last year's event. We will be doing another special limited edition run through that we will tease and what that looks like moving forward, and when that will be available as we get closer to the date.
And we have last year's 26th edition merch, which we've all signed. I've still got 2 t-shirts in my office, which we'll be giving away this year. So make sure you stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, really appreciate everyone's likes and subscribe as always. Hope everyone has a good rest of your week, and we will see you next time, and we'll see you in a week or so. Cheers, guys.
Catch you later, peeps. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, tofu.